Hello and welcome to coverage of Grand Prix Los Angeles. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Randy Buehler, and we've got an elimination match lined up for you here between Brian Kibler and Valentin Machel. Machel's on Mardu, and I think it's best described as a mid-range deck. It's kind of one of those decks that can pivot to a little bit more controlling, a little bit more aggressive role.
I've been calling it Mardu Tokens. Is that not?
Tokens
it plays Hordling Outburst.
It does play Hordling Outburst. It
does not play Raise the Alarm. Maybe, it's got
Yeah.
Battle Master and the Hordling. It's the Hordling Outburst makes me want to call it Tokens.
It makes me want to call it too, but I think they're just playing it for value. Like they're
Yeah.
just like, look, here's a really good Magic card that costs 3 mana. I'll play this.
So it's just Mardu mid-range in your mind?
That's where I have it at, yeah. Brian Kibler, on the other hand, is on Temur Tempo, and he is looking for a very simple game plan. Get ahead, stay ahead. And the deck's quite good at doing that. He's found himself at 11-2 here, but the way that the breakers are turning out down the stretch here, one of these players is going to still have a chance after this round, and the other one's not.
Yeah, the winner gets to play a win and in. I don't think the winner's going to get to draw. Part of that has to do with what's going on at the top of the standings. I know that we sent LSV over to the feature match area to try to get a report on what Tamada Ryuichi is actually going to do.
Luis, is he playing? Tell me he's playing.
So it looks like Tamada Ryuichi is playing against Jeskai. It looks like Tamada Ryuichi is actually playing. He's playing against Jeskai, and he's battling.
Awesome.
This is good. This makes me very happy.
Has anybody ever 18-0'd to GP? Do you have any memory of this?
I don't believe anyone's ever 18-0'd to GP. A couple people have 15-0'd the Swiss and then tried to win the top 8, but I don't think that's actually happened.
Right. Okay, great.
You know, Randy, I have to say, let's take a look here, by the way, at Brian Kibler playing a Savage Knuckleblade, giving it haste, and attacking for a full 6 damage here. You know, in the modern era, Randy, that is not where I would predict somebody running the tables would be. You know, I hear the stories of back in your heyday on the GP circuit where, you know, you'd break it, right? Like you'd find something that just nobody else had, and it wasn't like it was on every single web forum or website out there, and you could really get a huge edge on the field, but for some reason, but these days, you know, that isn't the case as much. It's a lot more brought down into the middle where people are on a more even playing field as far as like what deck they bring to the table. But Tamada denies that, and we'll see if he can run it through. I don't know. It's hard to say what his mentality is. I don't know Tamada's experience level in Magic either.
Meanwhile, Brian Kibler's day 2 has not gone as well as his day 1.
No, he was undefeated coming out of day 2. I can't quite see Brian Kibler's graveyard there. Looks like he's got that slightly off camera, but the Crackling Doom, the Crackling Doom did take down the Savage Knuckleblade there.
Yeah, he was tapped out.
All right.
And Seeker gained 3 life due to the Prowess trigger.
And those add up very, very quickly against a deck like Brian Kibler's, which does have some amount of reach, but isn't like a Jeskai deck where it can just burn you out from 12.
Yeah, it definitely took a lot of the sting out of that Savage Knuckleblade hit.
Yeah, a lot less savage.
Yeah, effectively an elimination match. The winner is hoping they can go to the standings and discover that an intentional draw will get them into the top 8, but I feel like that's going to be super risky because there are going to be a whole bunch of players on X2-1. So basically playing for the right to play a win and in.
Yeah, a long way to go for both of these players if they're going to be victorious.
Are we sure Kibler's not on turbo mode? I don't want. Can you imagine the Kibler shuffle on turbo mode?
I'm waiting for it. I think it'll just break our system.
We should put him in the turbo match at some point.
I mentioned it earlier that when we're on turbo mode, everybody shuffles like Kibler. All right, so Brian Kibler representing a Temur Charm here, as all he's done with 4 mana available in a deck that essentially curves out at 4 or 5. Let's play
Could
a
be a
1-drop.
Boon Satyr.
Absolutely could be a Boon Satyr. I think from Valentin Machel's side, he's got to consider Temur Charm, but it could be both as well. Like that's one of the strengths of Brian Kibler's list here.
Sure.
He can say, "No, I don't really need to counter that," and then play a threat instead, or he could just counter it if it's something really egregious.
Yeah, the ability to block Seeker and then put a Boon Satyr on top of a mana critter. It's pretty nice.
That was interesting from Machel. He picked up
The
Seeker
pump
of the
fake?
Way. Yeah, as if to attack. And he's going to attack here. And now Kibler has an interesting decision. he can block and force Valentin Machel to play something, which will trigger. He would lose his Mystic either way. So it really depends on, for Kibler, how important is that Mystic to his game plan and what he wants to do. It looks like he just took it. It's only 2, no lifelink. Maybe I spoke too soon. We might be in I have not decided to block mode here.
Uh-oh. Lightning Strike. He's tapped the Mystic.
And there is the Boon Satyr. But again, I'm assuming that we've already passed by blocks.
Sure.
And that's going to net Valentin Machel 3 life, put him back up to 20. And Kibler is somehow at 8. It's just weird how his life total can go. I mean, he's got a Mana Confluence in his hand.
He's got an Heir of the Wilds.
Excuse me, on the board, so he's tapped that for mana a few times. He's taking some hits from the Seeker. The Crackling Doom, he got him for a couple.
God, that Seeker's done such amazing work here.
It really has. Machel's at 16 still.
Has he triggered it twice to gain 6, or just the once to gain 3?
Unsure. I'm assuming twice, since there's 2 instances.
It's hard to imagine he's at 16, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, that Lightning Strike was, that was after blocks but during combat?
Correct.
Yeah, I got it. That makes sense. After blocks but during combat. So yeah, the 6 gain, Kibler can't race that.
No. He has to respect this puny 2-drop.
And his deck doesn't have nearly the burn that a Jeskai deck would be playing. It's just Lightning Strike and Crater's Claws.
Right. Heir of the Wild's pretty nice on defense here, though, and there's a Goblin Rabblemaster for Machel. Get himself a Goblin token here. I think Machel in his hand.
No, sorry. Pay 3 more, please.
Ah, he's
What? You don't have
return.
3 more? All right, no Rabblemaster for you. Solid use of a team return.
All right.
And Seeker's forced to play defense.
Significantly
attack
less
into the
good.
air.
Yeah, and there's a Lightning Strike to
Off
take
the
it
top.
down. I like this. All right, now we're battling for Brian Kibler here. 4, 5, 6, 7,
Uh-oh,
8
that looks like Murderous
damage.
Cut.
Yeah, that's what
Del
Kibler was playing
Blaze
around earlier.
4. And yep, Murderous Cut.
Wow, you really get to showcase the power of Murderous Cut there. Just a solitary black mana left for Machel, but he's able to take down the biggest threat from Kibler. Now, did he do that after attacks? Because if he did, I think he could have prevented a damage there from the Heir of the Wilds, right?
Oh, funny.
If he did it pre-combat. And there's Hordling Outburst. The value card, not to be confused with the token card. And it looks pretty good here, actually.
What we call the deck Mardu Value.
Yeah.
You'll sign up for that?
Oh, yeah. Not a tough sell, my friend. And we've entered in a sort of hazy middle ground here where both players aren't super high on life total. And
that is not a hazy creature.
Brian Kibler found a pretty nice one, and that also
triggers
allows Heir of the Wilds to get through and potentially trade for all 3 Goblin tokens if
which Machel's
if
not
there were
interested in
blocks.
doing.
And yeah, Machel has no interest. And the reason for that is I think because he's got Sorin in his hand, and he wants to be able to leave those back. Now, Polukranos, though, is a big problem here for Machel, as Brian Kibler's top decking doesn't have anything else to put his mana into, and now he found something quite nice. He can take out 2 of the tokens with Polukranos and grow them by a couple and have a lethal crackback here. So, interesting spot here for both players. This is game 1. We're late in the tournament here. This is the Swiss portion still, but we're in round 14. There's only one more after this. And these players need to win this match just to be live to play the next match to try to get into top 8. So this is very much an elimination match for top 8. Not that they couldn't finish strong in the tournament, but both of these players are professional Magic players. They have their eyes on the top 8 for sure. And we're going to see Sorin here.
It's going to be defensive Sorin.
Yeah, remember
Plus.
the thing about plussing Sorin is that it actually lasts until your next turn. So they would all be 2/1 lifelinkers all the way through Kibler's turn. But like I said, the Polukranos can mow down 2 of them.
Right. Yeah, looks like Valentin has figured out he's playing Soren, but he's got that die sitting in front of him. He hasn't actually decided whether to go up or down. Could put a 2/2 Vampire into play.
Yeah, is that better? Maybe he could use it to double block the Heir of the Wilds.
Yeah, Polukranos is just a giant problem here.
It's huge.
I mean, I guess plussing forces him to use his Polukranos.
It does. I just don't think that's that bad for Kibler, especially considering
Right.
that he's top decking. Like if he just draws a land anyway.
Right, right. Yeah, so Mackle decides to go down and put a Vampire into play.
Okay. Temur Charm, and that's game. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 damage. Temur Charm, its third ability says creatures with power 3 or less cannot block. Nice draw there for Kibler. And look at Mackle has a laugh. He's just like, well, that's pretty good. That's not a bad one in that spot.
Not
pretty brutal for Mackle.
Yeah, it's kind of not that many people are playing Temur. Not
Yeah.
that many people are playing against Temur Charm in Constructed. I don't think Valentin even considered that ability existed. Kind of took him by surprise. That was a cool
Yes.
game. I mean, whatever. He was dead to the board, but he wasn't expecting to lose on the spot to a top deck.
That's right. He certainly had some room to work with. All right, so I've got bad news, Randy. These guys are sideboarding. So is everybody else.
Uh-oh.
We have no match to jump in on at the moment because we've hit that kind of hazy weirdness where everybody seems to be shuffling at the same
Who won?
time.
Who won game one? Is Ryuichi Tamada Ryuichi's quest alive? The quest he may not even know he's on, but that
What-
we're going to sell anyway.
We will get an, yeah. We are going to get an update on that.
It's a big match for Austin Bach against Tamada. Austin wants to get to 39 points. Austin is playing a win-in. Austin is on X2. I mean, he gets to play another win-in next round, even if he loses. But he would love to just get to 39 points now.
So Tamada's up a game.
Tamada's up a game?
Yes.
Wow. That's good stuff. And then we've got Isaac Sears and Daniel Scheid also in the feature match area. And then the turbo match has some of the X2s on it. Eric Pei is running, I think it's Boss Slide. It's definitely got about 18 mountains and about 31 drops.
Wow. In this format, huh?
Yeah. He's still live. He's sitting on X2 and playing the turbo match right now against Eric Severson, who was on the Grand Prix Portland team that finished second. Lost to Peach Garden from the finals.
Right. That's where I remember that name from. I didn't cover that match because remember we had 2 coverage teams at that tournament, but I watched it.
Wow, I don't know any idea how sideboarding works out here. The Temur Mardu match is not one that a lot of people get squeezed in playtest games for this week.
No.
This is supposed to be Jeskai and Abzan. Where's all the Jeskai and Abzan
I
gone?
think I like this better.
I haven't seen Jeskai in a while. Like, I've seen a lot of Abzan.
Yeah?
And Jeskai, in terms of the day 2 metagame breakdown, pretty similar numbers of Jeskai and Abzan. But just watching the top tables, I mean, it's anecdotal evidence, but it feels like Abzan's just doing better than Jeskai.
It feels like that to me too, and that's actually especially surprising considering that so many of the top pros were on Jeskai.
I know.
You know, you get that skill advantage on the field as well.
It's a great point. Yeah, we just had David Ochoa was in contention with Jeskai but lost that round. Eric Froelich was in contention with Jeskai but lost that round. Those guys are now down at 3 losses. Yeah, day 2 archetypes. Oh, great. There's the visual to go with the story. You see Abzan midrange and Jeskai wins are pretty similar, just a tiny edge to Abzan midrange. Although to be fair to the clan, once you add in the Abzan aggro numbers, it is the most played wedge, I guess.
Absolutely is.
And then down you see there's some Mardu, there's some Sidisi Whip representing the Sultai. You know, there's a little bit of Temur. Haven't seen any of the control decks in a while.
No.
I mean, there are not that many of them on day 2 anyway. I know Owen got knocked out of contention pretty quickly. He was the only name player I knew who was on it. I don't know. Abzan seems seems like the deck that should have had the target on its forehead coming into this weekend, having just won the Pro Tour, but it seems to be having the best Grand Prix as well.
It does. That's scary.
A little bit. I mean, it's not a lopsided percentage of the field, even at the top. I don't think you've still got, Kibler, Mockel. Brad Nelson is still in contention too, right? Yeah, Brad is also playing he's playing versus Mark Jacobson this round. Yeah, outside the feature match area, but on 33 points, playing an elimination match, just like his buddy Valentin with the same deck. Cool stuff.
Luis, you got an update for us from the other tables?
I do. Isaac Sears is actually down a game against Red Green Devotion. He died to his own 2 Herald of Torments.
What? Red Green Devotion,
yeah.
Did you say?
There was Hornet Queen and Stormbreath Dragon fighting side by side, thanks to Xenagos the Reveler.
Wow, I haven't seen Xenagos in a while.
Yeah,
that's Daniel Scheid, who's 34 points.
Yeah, he's playing a lot of cards we haven't seen so far in this tournament. And
I bet his Crater's Claws has got to be in that list too, right?
I didn't see it in the game I saw, but he very well could have it.
And the Herald of Torments for Isaac got him?
Yeah, his opponent passed with like 10 creatures in play because Isaac was at 2 and had 2 Heralds.
Oh, jeez. Okay, fair enough. Thanks.
All right, let's take a live look in at our currently undefeated player, Tamada Ryoichi, who, I mean, he's got a chance to go completely undefeated for the whole tournament. I don't know if that's something that he's aiming for. Maybe he wins this match and next round somebody's like, hey, will you concede or will you ID with me? And he'll be like, sure. Who knows, right?
Right. But yeah, we don't think it's ever been done before.
Yeah,
and here, Austin Bach is essentially playing a win-and-in. He needs to either win this one or the next one to get to 39 points. Oh. Big
that card is so good. Every single time they play it, it's like, wow.
Well, that Mantis Rider card's pretty good, too.
Not too bad. Even if the Rhino just effectively took haste off of it there. Tamada's up a game here already, as you can see, so it's getting pretty close.
Vanishing Light.
Not a bad way to take down a Siege Rhino, though.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot more.
One.
It is risky. We're seeing a lot more of the white enchantment effects against Siege Rhinos this weekend. Banishing Light, Suspension Field, Chain to the Rocks. All these cards are, they don't undo the comes into play ability, but you still got to deal with a 4/5 Trampler.
So, and here we go. Here's the problem.
That is the problem.
I was talking with Luis about it last round, and he said it's usually the second Siege Rhino that gets you. Now, this isn't technically that, but 2 activations. We're talking about 12 life points being total here.
That totally counts as the second Siege Rhino.
I'm counting it.
Yeah, white enchantment's not the best answer. Like you said, it's risky.
Yeah, the best answer I've seen, I think, is Abzan Charm. Just get rid of the thing forever. But
sure, you can Hero's Downfall it too. But
sure.
I'd like to find some way. Disdainful Stroke is certainly in a lot of the Jeskai lists, in large part. More of those have been creeping into main decks in large part so you can point them at Siege Rhino. But it's not spectacular.
All right, why don't we jump back over to our main match? We will be keeping you up to date, though, on what's going on with Tamada there, see if he's going to find himself at 14-0 here. And there's that pesky Seeker of the Way. It didn't quite get there for Mockel, but it did a ton of work last time.
It did. I did not think Brian was going to win that game about 2/4 of the way through.
Yeah, it turns out when you go Plukranos into Temur Charm, things work out pretty well for you.
Into 2 Temur Charms, right? The first one was a Mana Leak.
Yep.
And then the second one was a Falter.
Awkward start here for Kibler, though. 2 tap lands on the draw means that he's not doing much for a while. He's playing Elves and Rattleclaw Mystics, too, to try to kind of make up some of that ground, and you just can't cast him here. Especially when your first land is a Scry land. Okay, 3, but he's just going to pass the turn back now.
So that's got to be either a charm or a Boon
Satyr
Satyr,
or
maybe
charm.
both.
Yeah. He does play Lightning Strike as well.
That's true.
Nothing on the battlefield there for Kibler outside of his lands. But Mako's not super far ahead with just a Seeker of the way. And he's only going to hit for 2 here. What's the follow-up? Oof, Butcher of the Horde. Now that's a different deal. That's a if Kibler has a Temur Charm, he is definitely going to want to zap that thing.
All right, cracks his fetch lands.
It resolves. So here is a Boon Satyr, which will help out a little bit, but doesn't seem to match up very well against the board. I mean, it can attack here, yes.
Brian's not winning this race with just a Boon Satyr, though.
Right.
Valentin has no interest in blocking with Butcher and trading.
None whatsoever. Both of Makel's creatures can get lifelink.
True.
Neither has it natively, but like if he untaps and plays Hordling Outburst, pump up the Seeker of the way, maybe sack one if he wants to gain life or whatever, like, ugh. All right, well, there's Savage Knuckleblade, but it's going to be a post-combat Savage Knuckleblade. Sticking back to block Seeker of the Way.
Wow.
That is not what we had intended for you, Savage Knuckleblade. He wants to get in the red zone real bad, but not this time.
I like big knucks. I can't lie. I don't let this play as much.
It had to happen sometime. I suppose I'm rather hear it from you than from Louise. Okay, so Butcher of the Horde battles for 5, drops Kibler down to 9. Makel passes the turn back. He's fighting for his top 8 life here. He needs to win back-to-back games against Brian Kibler, the Hall of Famer, the 2-time champion, in order to keep his dream alive. It is not going to be easy, but he is ahead here in the second game a bit. Now, one thing about Kibler's deck is that it can close out the game very, very quickly. Makel is at 12 here, and Kibler has up to 10 power on the battlefield right now. Things can get out of hand. Now, Kibler, though, knows better. So Makel has passed a turn back with 4 mana up, all of his colors available. He's got to have something. Kibler does have 2 sources to make sure that Ferocious is on. I believe he's got a Crater's Claws in his hand, which is really interesting because if Makel had nothing and didn't block, he could kill him. But chances of all of that being true are basically 0. So Kibler's got to try to figure out how he wants to win. And there's a Crater's Claws for 4.
Well, for currently 2+2.
Yeah, I mean, both of his creatures would have to go away to make that different.
Right. It's a Crater's Claws where X is equal to 2. Which I mean, hypothetically, both the creatures could die. He'd still be killing the Seeker, except that for his creatures to die, spells would have triggered the Seeker.
So he's playing around Makel having 2 spells there?
Exactly.
Okay.
Although the thing is, if Makel had 2 spells, they'd probably kill both his creatures. I don't know.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Brian's line plays around a lot of stuff, which is nice.
So here's Crackling Doom. Oh.
Stubborn Denial.
Stubborn Denial
Denied.
to blanket. Wow. 1 mana, counter target non-creature spell since he has Ferocious, and that's what it's in the deck for right there, is to protect his creatures. It's also going to protect his life total here. gods. He's at 9, and that keeps him just out of lightning strike range as well. If the Crackling Doom would have resolved, it would have put him to 7. Then he takes 5, puts him down to 2, where he can get struck. And now Mako has a whole heck of a lot of work to do, but a lot of cards in hand with which to do it. Is this Hordeling Outburst? No, it's Anger of the Gods. Anger of the Gods will take out the Boon Satyr, but wow, Mako has to pass the turn back.
He's running out of life.
So he's going to chump block and force a pump here. But let's not forget Murderous Cut as a possibility. No, not there. Wow. So it looks like Brian Kibler might be able to just power his way through with Big Knucks. Savage Knuckleblade. He told us yesterday, Randy, while we were chatting with him, this is the reason to play the deck. And here's Murderous Cut. So he finds it, but it's a little late.
Oh, and an Anger.
Oh, is it a little late? Interesting. Anger of the Gods.
Lightning Strike is lethal. Crater's Claws is lethal.
And
creatures get lethal.
Probably a Rattleclaw Mystic, though it could be an Ashcloud Phoenix. If it is an Ashcloud Phoenix, it gets interesting if Kibler has another land, because Mako cannot use his Caves of Koilos to do mana. It was a Rattleclaw, but does that actually put Mako down to 2?
Yeah. Yeah, he had to tap Caves of Koilos for the white.
All right, so that's definitely significant. If there's another one, and there's Heir of the Wilds, a lethal attacker now. But Mako has tons of cards, and none of them get in the way. He couldn't find the mana to cast his Sorin Solemn Visitor, and Brian Kibler, he's not in the top 8 yet, but he's put himself in a position where he gets to play for it next round.
Yeah, if anybody can draw in, it's going to be Brian, having 9-0 day 1. Like, his breakers are probably the best. I mean, I've got pairings by table. I don't have the tiebreakers in front of me, but I have to imagine that Brian's breakers are the best. Is there somebody, if anybody can draw in, it's probably him. He doesn't get that draw, though, unless his opponent can also draw in.
Right, so it's not just about if anybody can, it's if any 2 people can, and he needs to be paired against that other person.
Yeah, worst case scenario, he's got to win in next round. Not bad.
What more can you ask for?
No, if you tell anybody, we're going to go to round 15 and you're going to play for top 8, in. Absolutely. We got any updates on our Tamada Ryuchi? Oh, we're on.
All right, we are going to actually get game 3 here of Tamada. Hey! I mean, I am a Brian David Marshall fan as well.
There we go, the live look in. So Austin Bach evened it up, took game 2. Austin Bach, you see there, is 12-1. So he is paired up. His opponent is not Valentin Mako. His opponent is, of course, Tamada Ryuchi, which is in the process of updating our graphics. Haven't actually seen much Jeskai on camera. We'll see Austin's having success with the deck. But I mean, plenty of it running around. I mean, it's the same, 20% of the field it was expected to be. Just not really climbing to the top of the Swiss like it did at the Pro Tour.
No.
13-0. Super impressive.
He's 1 game away from being 14-0 here.
According to Twitter, Jeremy Schofield is the guy who has come the closest to running the table at a Grand Prix.
Yeah, that was at GP Vancouver.
It was GP Vancouver. Yep. He was undefeated in the Swiss.
Yep.
Lost the final.
Yes, he did. That was sealed. He ran the table in sealed.
And draft.
Yeah. That was a
Schofield
great one.
got to 17-0. That's the closest. Still a little bit away from that, but
yeah, we're way off of that currently, but it is interesting to speculate here. It looks like we have some mulliganing here for Austin. You get a look at Tamada. This is the King of the Hill match as well.
Sure.
He's gotten very comfortable over there.
Definitely.
Maybe that's it. He just likes the seat. Doesn't want to have to go to the pairings board to figure out what table he's at. He's like, yeah, this one's mine. All right, let's see if Austin, with his Jeskai deck, can get a keeper here. 6. Okay, we are underway here.
Ryuichi's actually been on a bit of a roll in the Grand Prix circuit. He got 3rd in Shanghai a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, and the last one in Shanghai. 3rd place.
Yeah.
Must have not sat with him well. He'd like to improve on that
He
finish.
can do better than that.
Yeah. They made him mad.
I don't know where he finished in Hawaii. I assume he was in Hawaii.
I suppose Shanghai would have qualified him for not Hawaii, though.
Right, which will qualify him for the next one. That's why I'm not.
So,
I don't have a specific memory of him in Honolulu, but
by the way, do you see that basic forest there, Randy?
is that a Guru basic?
That is a Guru land.
Those are quite hard to find.
They are very difficult to find, and they are flat out gorgeous. Yeah, you don't see those very often. Tamada is a dedicated Magic player when you see somebody playing with Guru forests or Guru lands of any type. I think Therese Nielsen did those, and they've got this really cool sort of arcing, heavenly body thing going on. It is really, really nice.
Meanwhile,
Anafenza has found herself suppressed. Jeez, these curves are so nasty, right? It's just 4-4 into Siege Rhino.
3-3 into 4-4 into 4-5.
Yes, 3-3 into 4-4 into 4-5 with bonus. Incredible stuff. And now we have Austin trying to fill up his graveyard
This
and
is
set up his
upkeep Magma
draws.
Jet?
Looks like it.
Did he jet the Rhino or Tamada? I didn't see.
I'm assuming that he jetted Tamada here. Yeah, because he's got to dig through time and nothing.
I mean, his
else
play could, in theory, have been
to try to find
mize a lightning strike.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
Wow, that hand is not good.
That hand is
Siege Rhino.
bad. Yeah, that's a desperation.
I mean, he answered the
Magma
first 2
Jet.
threats, right?
Yes.
But you're absolutely right. That was desperation.
Wow, and he's going to see Thoughtseize to take away the dig. Oh, I didn't see what he top bottom because we were on the close shot, but you better hope something amazing is on top of his library. I don't even know if there's cards, like individual cards that really get him out of this spot. He at least needs a 1-for-1 with the Rhino, but if Tamada can follow up with any type of threat, okay, he doesn't. Maybe I spoke too soon. Let's see. He doesn't currently.
So Tamada Ryuichi, by the way, I just had Frank Karsten look him up to see where he finished in Hawaii.
Yeah.
It's not in the standings.
So he did not play there.
He did not compete in Hawaii. He's decided he wants to compete on the Pro Tour, so he started traveling to Grand Prix. And then 3rd place in Shanghai seems to have gotten him excited enough and confident
just
enough
flew over here
to fly over and try to take home the Pro Tour points, the money, the invites.
You got to respect that.
Oh, I love it. Absolutely love it.
Rakshasa Death Dealer is the follow-up play here for Tamada. Ooh, there's a good one that Austin found. He finds Elspeth. So he's going to make some tokens, but we were talking about this earlier, Randy. Siege Rhino.
Yep.
Just mows down tokens.
Oh, yeah.
You can't play the game where you get to make tokens and chump block for a while anymore.
That trample ability is gigantic.
Yeah. Not sure what he was doing there. But Tamada draws his card for the turn. And he didn't do anything, right? Those 3 mana laid foul. There was no Abzan Charm or anything to draw him some cards or something like that. He just sort of was like, well, I guess I'll make a Death Dealer and keep it up. And even though he has Austin down to 9, he's going to have to divert attention over to Elspeth here.
Yeah, he's got to put 2 tokens in front of the Rhino, just trying to defend Elspeth's loyalty counters.
If he puts 2 counters on the Death Dealer, he does force Tamada to do something. Yeah. All right, there's Anafenza sitting on top of the library after the Courser of Kruphix comes down for Tamada. He's pressing his advantage even further here. But Elspeth continues to do her thing, and she's brought friends. Austin was on virtual empty a turn and a half ago. And now he's starting to turn things around with a Jeskai Charm as a follow-up, but the problem is the Siege Rhino is going to drain him for 3 more again.
Is that actually turning things around?
I'm not sure if that's the long-term plan that he wants.
It's more like delaying the inevitable to me.
Yeah, it might be the case, Randy. Anafenza is going to be revealed again, still sitting on top of the library.
Yeah, it does totally seem like the right play. It pushes Anafenza away. It means the Courser's not going to get not going to hit any land that might be under Anafenza. Slows down the Siege Rhino, and totally reasonable play.
But also not a happy place to be.
Yeah,
if
he's
you're
still
Austin Box
behind.
Seat. Now, Bach doesn't have double blue up here, right? So the Rhino...
Disdainful Stroke, though. Single blue is good enough.
Single blue for Disdainful Stroke. All right, so he has
now the
set
Jeskai Charm play makes a lot more sense.
Makes perfect sense. He is top decking still, but now all of a sudden he's got 5 soldier tokens out, and he can play the chump block game now.
Yes, he can.
That's a Glare of Heresy down there.
Yes.
So that can take down Elspeth next turn. But are these tokens enough? Doesn't feel like it. It feels like Tamada's going to be able to kind of power through here. He's going to have an Anafenza here. Interesting decision. I mean, do you just ignore Elspeth now if your plan is to play Glare on her next turn anyway? Yeah, he's attacking Austin.
Yeah.
This represents 6 damage here, so Austin's got to do something.
Yeah, probably.
He could take it. It's just that he's in
probably block
range.
with 1. Like, I don't know why you wouldn't block with 1 soldier. He could, in theory, block with more, except that regeneration means he'll never actually kill the Death Dealer, so he's content just to stop the damage.
Yeah, see, and there's a Rhino there for Tamada. And that's going to drop Austin down to 6. And again, we have that Glare of Heresy just sort of looming on top of the library. So Austin's going to have to consider that he might not have Elspeth anymore.
He will not have Elspeth
anymore. There's also Suppression Field. It's a thing. What does he have in his hand? Island and, Flooded Strand. So he's got a whole lot of nothing going on. He had a nice little stretch there, the Jeskai Charm into the Disdainful Stroke.
Okay, he's going to go down.
Yeah, he's got
kill
it, right?
the Siege Rhino. Elspeth's going to die anyway. Could have gotten 3 soldiers to hang around, but he'd rather just get Siege Rhino off the board.
Yeah, that does feel correct. Oops, Bile Blight on top. Wow, what a nice sequence for Tamada. He gets to kill Elspeth and then clear out the tokens as well.
No lands for the Courser. It's not perfect. See, if those cards had been every other card in his library with lands in between, then that would be a nice sequence.
Spoken like a true Pro Tour champion. Want a little more value, please. All right, so here's Glare.
Does elect go for Elspeth, not the Suspension Field. It seems completely correct.
Right, I think he's got another Anafenza in his hand, right? So
now what? Attack into the tokens.
And now Austin's got to try to get as much value at him as he can. He's staring at that Bile Blight over there.
Yeah, I mean, he clearly should block with 1.
Yes.
Question is, again, does he gang block to try to force Tamada to spend mana?
Yeah, if they're going to die anyway.
Well, but then you don't force him to use the Bile Blight.
Yeah,
then the Bile Blight is around to kill your next thing.
Yeah, it's just that if he doesn't do this, then he's going to let him play on offensive this turn too. And
right, 2's pretty nice.
Yeah.
2 seems like the right play there. Forces Tamada to spend mana.
Bach drops to 5 off of the Flooded Strand, just trying to find something else. is going to get a good shuffle there, as he's going to pass back for what could be a pretty huge top deck. I mean, I'm assuming that Austin has access to like end hostilities and that kind of thing post board. Huh. It's a land. Now Austin's not dead here, right? He's still got the 2 soldiers, and it's black 2. Oh, he is dead.
He is. I mean, Bile Blight your soldiers attack pump.
Yep.
He can represent a burn spell, and maybe Tamada will not want to commit his mana to pumping the Death Dealer. But that's all he's got.
The old air ball in hand here.
Yeah, he's not even going to use the Bile Blight.
Okay.
Which makes sense to me. I mean, there's no reason to suddenly get risky and just kind of blow your resources to win this turn when Tamada knows how far ahead he is.
He can also leave up regeneration for the Rakshasa Death Dealer, making end hostilities a non-out here.
Exactly. Yeah, Austin takes 2 down to 3.
And he's also got another Rakshasa Death Dealer sitting on top of his library, but he's not going to need that.
There's
and that's going to do it. Tamada Ryoichi is undefeated here still. 14-0 now.
Crazy. Crazy.
Looking to possibly run it here. I mean, it is within sight here. He has one more match to win if he plays it to be 15-0 in the Swiss, which is by itself a huge accomplishment.
Mm-hmm. Especially for a guy, I mean, I don't know much about Tamada Ryoichi. I'm assuming he's Japanese. I'm assuming he flew over just for the sake of the Grand Prix because he doesn't seem to be in the Hawaii standings.
Right.
We know he was 3rd in Shanghai and sort of come out of nowhere to take over the Grand Prix circuit. That's pretty cool.
I really like that he flew here too. Like that it wasn't a stopover type situation. That's really crazy.
Well, it's not exactly on the way home. It's on the way home for the Europeans.
Yes.
It's not on the way home for
Japan if he
anybody
lives
from
in Japan.
Asia.
Yeah. He could live here.
And then flew to Shanghai?
Either way, I like it.
Okay.
We'll try to get a little more information on it.
So did we ever hear the final for Isaac Sears and Daniel Scheid? That was the other match on a back table. I don't know if we got that result.
Okay. Isaac Sears match just finished. We're going to get the result once we can. We're going to go to Turbo once it's ready to go.
Right. The Turbo match, I'm pretty sure, is Eric Pay and Eric Severson.
Severson, yes.
Severson?
It is Severson. Yeah, Severson and Eric Pay. Luis, what did we miss over there?
So it looked like you guys just jumped in on the red-green versus...
we were about to.
We were about to.
See any of it.
All right, so Isaac's still down a game. He's been at 1 life for like 10 turns. He had to Obzon Charm his own Herald of Torment to not die to it.
Oh, jeez.
And right now the top card of the Red Green Devotion deck is Hornet Queen, revealed to Courser. So Isaac has 1 turn to figure out an answer to that. So it's looking pretty grim for him.
Is that game 2 or game 3?
That is game 2 with him down a game.
Wow.
Thank you, Luis. Woo!
Not looking good for Isaac Sears, who, that's a winning in for Isaac. Not in this case, but it's not a losing out.
Okay.
Because he's at 36 points. What that does is, if Daniel Scheid manages to finish it off, he'll go to 37.
Mm-hmm.
So can't draw. Probably needs a win, depending on his tiebreakers. Yeah, this is there's going to be a lot of drama in the last round. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of drama in the last round, and then I think there's going to be a lot of drama at the top 8 announcement, as all these unintentional draws create ties for the spot.
Right. All right, let's go to the Turbo match here. We've got Eric Pay versus Eric Severson.
Awesome.
An Eric Mirror match, and here they go. So for those of you that haven't been with us for the duration of the weekend, we've been doing this where this is a pre-recorded match. I actually don't know the outcome of this match, but it's we're playing it at an accelerated speed so that we can make sure to show you the whole match in the time frame we have until the next round goes. That way it doesn't get cut off. But it will look a little interesting. And there we go, Foundry Street Denizen.
Foundry Street Denizen. Which is the Mono Red clan? I don't know what the name for the Mono Red clan is.
I don't think they named that one. It's just red. And here's
the plan of-
Anafenza. So here's the difference between
Turn
these decks.
2, 4/4.
Let's see what Eric Pay plays on his turn 2 as to
Wow.
compensate for an Anafenza.
It is actually hard to go Mystic into Anafenza.
It
Because
is.
the Mystic taps for green, requires green. You could basically only do it off of a green pain land.
Right.
But that is precisely what Eric Severson, is that what
It's Severson.
Severson has done.
So that's a Monastery Swiftspear, I believe?
It is. Yeah, sometimes Frenzied Goblin is
That's
also
not very
pretty
good.
useful out of Eric Pay's deck.
Yeah, see, now
You know.
that's the kind of thing I could see just running right past.
Or Hammerhand. How about Hammerhand?
Hammerhand.
Triggering the prowess.
Trigger, trigger, trigger.
You can't block.
Wow. A sketchy limited strategy, and here we are.
Yeah, that's 5
Blasting
damage,
into
right?
red zone. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, 5
Yeah.
damage.
Eric's actually down to 12. Severson is.
Wow.
Now,
Turbo edition indeed.
he's going to be taking giant chunks out of Pay's life total.
That's true. Also, something like a Sorin that gets activated and allows an attack seems really bad for Pay.
Sure.
Obviously, Whip of Erebos would be horrible.
Now, these guys are 11-2 as they play this match, so same record that Brian Kibler and Valentin Mackel had. It is an elimination match. The winner will have to play a win and in. There's just looked to be too many people for draws to happen in the last round. Top
I
8
see.
elimination match anyway. I mean,
Sure.
They're still
Yeah, yeah, they're playing for
money,
money
and points.
stuff.
And
Yeah.
both these guys are having a great weekend, however this turns out.
So I see another Hammerhand and also a Dragon Mantle.
Wow, Anafenza is playing defense.
Fence is back on D. But that Hammerhand could really put a crimp in the plans here. That one is Dragon Mantle. That's
That
going to
is?
trigger the Monastery Swiftspear.
Sure.
I see, I believe Hammerhand and maybe either 2 Hammerhands and a Lightning Strike or something like that. Okay, draw a card from the Mantle. Eric Pay is really taking his time. Every single bit of damage counts here. I believe
yeah.
it's double Lightning Strike Hammerhand. Is that what you're seeing?
I think so.
Something like that.
Looks like Severson
Ooh,
has
Obzon Charm.
Obzon Charm.
Go ahead, Luis.
And Isaac did end up losing that match. So
Okay.
dropping him to X2.
Okay, thank you. So I also see a Stoke the Flames, I believe. So I think it's actually Stoke Strike Strike. Can that be? Yikes.
Obzon, this is as a response to Obzon Charm.
Correct. He is
Before he
gonna
loses
use
the
the
Swift
mana.
Sphere, he's
Yeah.
going to tap it to play Convoke. on
That's
the
right.
Stoke.
But the Swift Spirit does eventually get exiled there.
So that drops Severson to 7.
From 11 to 7.
Yeah. I mean, he tapped a Pain Land for the Obzon Charm.
Yeah, wow.
The Pain Land may have turned on turn 2 on Offenza, but she's also on defense.
Right.
Wow, 7. With
Somehow
2
we've
lightning
gone into
strikes.
slow-mo mode here. Turbo's running out of gas. All right, we're just we're working on getting him back up to the above the speed limit here. May need to address that. We'll see if it picks back up again. Oh, there we go. We're speeding
So it's
up.
2 lightning strikes against what I'm pretty sure is 7 life for Severson.
So all he needs to do here is get in 1 damage somewhere?
Yeah, or get Severson to tap his Pain Land one more time.
Right. And Severson's in one of those terrible positions where he really needs to start working on his opponent's life total here,
True.
but just does not have the flexibility to do so.